evening, everybody, and welcome back to the Talking Philly Sports with Matty B program here on the Edge of Philly Sports with your boy Matty B, live and direct. That's right, no more pre-recorded shows. This is me and you in the flesh. It is 8:01 on October the 30th, 2023, and it is a first and foremost a happy Mischief Night to you all. I don't know if that's a thing anymore, but if it isn't, that's a shame because it was one of my most cherished memories of youth growing up in the Northeast Philly area, going out there and egging and soaping and toilet papering the neighborhood once a year, guilt-free. And I know it's not, I don't think it's a thing anymore. And that's because obviously it's half society's fault and it's the other half society's fault because people take things too far and they ruin it for the rest of us. But happy Mischief Night for all you Mischief Night nostalgic people out there. I hope you are having a safe but happy night, as I am here on the program. So it is Halloween Eve, my favorite holiday of the year. And I know people out there definitely are tuned into me to hear the latest and greatest of Philadelphia sports takes that I can produce. And then that's what you'll get tonight because that's all I know how to give you is my best. But yeah, it's great to be back live. Obviously, over the last 3 weeks or so, I was unable to be here live because of certain scheduling difficulties presented by the Philadelphia Phillies, which no longer seem to be a problem, seeing how the baseball season has come to an end. But it's with I guess a heavy heart that I'm back here live because obviously another week of pre-recorded shows or maybe two I could have definitely dealt with, and and for all kinds of obvious reasons I could have dealt with a few more pre-recorded, but hey, it is what it is. I spewed my venom last week on the program. It's time to move on. It's time to turn the page, and it's time to heal. But of course, I won't let you do that because I want to continuously bring things up until you become sickening by them. But we're not going to necessarily do that tonight. But on the show tonight, we got a lot to do, a lot to go over. Eagles, big time win, or was it yesterday down there in Landover, Maryland, 38-31 over the Washington Commanders and Tom Brady. That's right. You might know him now as Sam Howell because apparently this guy can only play quarterback when he's playing the Eagles. And yesterday was no short of that as he tore the Eagles secondary up for a tune of 397 yards. And obviously, if it hadn't been for a couple Terry McLaurin drop passes, we're talking a different, we're singing a different tune today. But that's not how it worked out. The Eagles were able to win 7-1. And we are, we're going to get into that game. And we're also going to turn the page because it's Dallas week. And much like Mischief Night, Dallas week ain't the same as it used to be when I was growing up. It's gotten more softer. It's gotten more, kumbaya-ish, which sickens me to no end. But we're going to discuss some Dallas week because we got the Cowboys in our crosshairs on Sunday afternoon at 4:30 at the Link as the Eagles will begin a gauntlet of football games that a lot of people looked at way back when the schedule first came out in May and circled by saying, you know what, this was going to define the season. And I agree with you folks. This will certainly define the season over the next 6 weeks as we have finally entered the pit of despair for the Philadelphia Eagles as we get ready for the Cowboys this week. Michael checking in. The Eagles defensive coordinator is, my opinion, just okay. He is just okay, Michael. But and we're going to get into the Eagles on our Birds breakdown segment. Kyle Quinn is not going to be here. So for those of you who were tuned in to see Kyle, we had a scheduling conflict. Kyle could not figure out at the last minute. So Kyle is not going to be here. It's going to be me and you tonight, but I am more than capable of handling that. Going forward, though, on the program, we're going to try to figure something out. Mondays are becoming kind of a crunch time for Kyle. So we're going to try to figure out something differently with Kyle going forward on the show for the rest of the football season. But that's okay. It's fine to have me here by myself because that's how I thrive, man. I thrive on the pressure of being by myself. But as to Michael's credit or to Michael's answer, the Eagles defensive coordinator has been okay, yes. But the Eagles defensive unit heading into this season, especially in the secondary, the area in which this team is getting absolutely torched in over the past 8 weeks, was never okay. It was not, in my opinion, was never assembled correctly. There was too many question marks, not enough depth, sprinkle in a few injuries, and there you have it. On Sunday, now the blinder people out there, or the Eagle excusists, I like to call them, are going to say, well, it was Bernard Bayard's first game as an Eagle. Yeah, okay, it was, but he's a professional athlete. He's an All-Pro. Shouldn't he be able to assimilate a baseline defense? Because I don't think the Eagles were running anything spectacular against the Redskins. It was a lot of cover stuff. It is what it is. And also, a lot of people will say, well, we're still kind of in that phase of the season where we're trying to figure some things out. Well, that might be the case as well, but we are in week 9 now, and the week 1 through 8 of the excuses of, well, this is we don't have preseason anymore, so these games are like the preseason, or we don't hit as hard as we do in training camp, so the team's got to figure itself out. We have 2 new coordinators that are trying to figure themselves out. Folks, it's week 9. We have arrived at the halfway point. I guess this is the halfway point of the NFL season. At what point do we say it's, that whole training wheel phase is over, and now we want to see some production out of our coordinators? Because right now, especially maybe on the offensive side, I'm not liking it. The Eagles are not hitting on all cylinders yet, and it's week 9. And now we've run out of the powder puff games, or the games that we necessarily, they're not powder puff. There is no powder puff games in the NFL. But now we're in that gauntlet. We're going to hit the teeth of the schedule. And this is what the Eagles' schedule looks like over the next 6 weeks. You got the Cowboys on Sunday, the Chiefs after that. You got the Cowboys a bye, the Chiefs, Bills, 49ers, and Cowboys. This is back-to-back type stuff. The time of trying to figure things out, the time to tinker, the time of let's give our coordinators an opportunity to get their feet wet. That's over. We've reached the end of that. And on Sunday, the Eagles, once again, following their same script, got off to a clunker. And as I said, a couple Terry McLaurin drop passes or caught passes versus dropping them, we're singing a different tune today. So we're going to get into that. We're also going to get into some Flyers. Flyers took it on the chin on Saturday, 7-4 to the Ducks. Tonight, they are actually in action as I look to my left here as we speak, 2-1 over the Carolina Hurricanes right now in the second period. And then we're going to wrap things up with, yes, the Phillies. Because you know what? Again, I do not subscribe to the point of let's just not talk about it because it makes it go away. No, we're going to talk about the Phillies. Now, we're not necessarily going to talk about the disaster and the national embarrassment of losing Game 6 of the NLCS was to the Arizona Diamondbacks, but we're going to talk a little bit about what the next step should be for this team moving forward into 2024. And then we're going to end the show on something positive. Yes, that's right. I am capable of talking positive and being positive, and we're going to end the show tonight on a positive Phillies note. So please stick around for that. But let's get things rolling as we do here every week on the program with our first segment, which, of course, is your night or day in Philadelphia sports history. And tonight, that segment is brought to you by Dolan's, the only place that you should go to alleviate your stress and have a good time down there at 24 East Sellers Ave in Ridley Park for Quizzo music, great times, and memorabilia giveaways. And you never might know who might walk through the front door at Dolan's. Give PJ and the crew your business, because they're going to give you the business, and they're going to take care of you the best way they possibly can. Tell them that the boys at EOP sent you, and they will, as I said, take good care of you. But this day in Philadelphia sports history, there was one thing, really, all that I found that jumped off the page at me for October 30th, and it wasn't even that good. So I went through a day in the future to Halloween, October 31st. And and then there was one thing that just popped off the page, because how could I not talk about this? On this date, well, I should say tomorrow, October 31st, 2008. Do I need to go any further, folks? Have you guessed what today's day in Philadelphia sports history moment is? And that's right, that 25-year championship drought parade ended with the parade. Probably didn't phrase that right, but we had our parade up Broad Street to celebrate the 2008 Philadelphia Philly World Series victory over the Tampa Bay Rays on tomorrow's date back in 2008. And as I mentioned on the program last week, I was nowhere near the Delaware Valley during that time. I was 7,000 miles to the east in Iraq, and did not have the opportunity to partake in that. And there's some things in my life that I, not necessarily regrets, but some things in my life that I wish I could change, and that is definitely one of them, because it was a great moment in Philadelphia sports history, a moment that I was too young to enjoy the parade in '80, and obviously not around in 2008. I fear that the next time someone's going to have to take me, next time I'll go to Broad Street for a parade, is I'll be escorted there by my nurses, and they're going to have to shine a light in my eyes to get some response out of me, because to make sure that I understand what I'm seeing. So I pray to God that's not the case, that I get down the Broad Street again to see a parade before dementia and old age takes over, and I cannot enjoy it. But that is your date in Philadelphia sports history: the parade, the World Bleeping Champions Parade, famous words uttered by Chase Utley on tomorrow, October 31st, 2008, and that is your day in Philadelphia sports history. All right. Now moving on to the very first segment, and that, of course, would be our Birds Breakdown with Kyle Quinn. Again, Kyle not available today due to some business scheduling issues, but that's all right. We'll get Kyle back here as soon as possible. But this Birds Breakdown with Kyle Quinn is sponsored to you by the good folks over at Sherry's Ticket Town. If you're looking for great prices and no hidden fees on sports, concerts, and theater tickets, look no further than Sherry's Ticket Town at www.sherrystickets.com. Family owned and operated since 1946. Save an additional 10% when you enter the promo code EOP103831. Eagles winners over the Washington Redskins yesterday in a balmy Landover, Maryland. What was it, 86 degrees or something like that at game time? I know we had some good weather here in Delaware Valley on Saturday. It turned a little bit nasty on Sunday, but I guess that weather held up down in Maryland for them to get the game in. But this was a game that there's a lot of people that are excited about your Philadelphia Eagles. I am one of them. But there's also a lot of people, even the Eagle blinder people, even the people that claim allegiance to the Birds, unadulterated allegiance, allegiance to the point of trying to literally talk themselves into something that's not there. But these blinder people want you to believe that a win is a win is a win is a win. And to a certain extent, they are correct. But deep down in their hearts, deep down in their souls, deep down in their subcockles where they keep their cockles, they know it's not true. They know there's some issues. They know that there's some glaring concerns on this football team that have not been addressed since week 1, and here we are entering week 9, because it's the same thing with this team. Get off to a slow offensive start. The defense is shaky. Offense wakes up. The defense hopefully makes a play, and we hang on for the win. But as I mentioned at the top of the program, 6 straight weeks now of the gauntlet, the major gauntlet that this team is going to have to run starting on Sunday against the Dallas Cowboys. Is that going to be good enough? Is that going to be good enough to win? Is that going to be good enough to separate the Eagles from the rest of the pack in the NFL? Or is it going to result in the Eagles sinking back down into the pack? Are we going to come out of the next 6 weeks thinking Super Bowl or bust? Or are we going to come out of the next 6 weeks thinking Super Bowl or bust? And I don't know. I am concerned for the future of this football team over the next 6 weeks, because what I saw on Sunday was the same thing I saw not the Sunday against the Dolphins, but the Sunday before that, and the Sunday before that, and the Sunday before that. It's the same recipe. The Eagles rely on their talent to hopefully uplift them at the end to victory, which they did on Sunday. But they were beaten by the Washington Commanders on Sunday. They were beaten by an inferior opponent. But they did enough that they keep around, and then they made that play, that one play that needed to kind of, flip the field and then cruise to victory there at the end. But is that going to be enough against the Dallas Cowboys? The stinking Dallas Cowboys, who put a beating on the Rams yesterday. Is that going to be enough against the Kansas City Chiefs, the defending Super Bowl champions who, yes, lost to the Broncos? Is that going to be enough against the 49ers, the upstart team that apparently is now a rival of the Eagles, which I don't understand, nor do I accept that? Is that going to be enough against the Buffalo Bills? And is that going to be enough against the Dallas Cowboys again? This is the season right here. Don't let the Eagle blinder people lie to you. This is it. This is the 6-week stretch that we have been fearing and anticipating all at the same time. And it is upon us. And it begins on Sunday against the Dallas Cowboys. Now, on Sunday against the Commanders, it was, again, the same recipe. This time, though, the Eagles won the toss. They elected to defer, and the Redskins got the ball and went down on a 3-play, 62-yard drive. And, they would score first in the first quarter on a 3-play, 62-yard drive, culminating with a Sam Howell touchdown pass to Terry McLaurin to make it 7-0. The Eagles then, at the end of the quarter on the next drive, held the ball for 5 minutes and 2 seconds, went on an 11-play, 42-yard drive. 11 plays and 42 yards. Does that work out in anyone's head? 11 plays, 42 yards, 5 minutes, a Jake Elliott 51-yard field goal to cut the lead to 7-3, and that was your score heading into the second quarter. And now here's where it gets hairy, because then now the Commanders pull ahead. Once again, Sam Howell finds an open wide receiver, 21 yards. This time Dotson to culminate a 9-play, 75-yard drive to make it 14-3. But here come the Birds, the Eagles. With 34 seconds left to go in the half, A.J. Brown, who had himself a day, a 16-yard pass from Jalen Hurts, who had himself a day, and the Eagles are right back in this thing 14-10. But then the Eagles went to sleep a little bit at the end of the quarter, at the end of the half, allowed the Redskins to get into into position to kick a field goal. Granted, it was 61 yards, but Joey Slay with the 61-yarder with 1 second left to go in the half to up the Redskin lead up to 17. Sorry, I'm saying Redskin, man, because I'm not catching myself. What the hell with it? I'm not catching myself anymore. If I say Redskins, so be it. 17-10 Washington. They got the lead going in the half, but the Eagles come back out in the second half, and maybe they decided this was the time. We can't do this. Now, this was after Kenny Gainwell apparently is having Twitter wars with fans in the locker room on his phone, which we'll get to in a minute. But the Eagles come out in the second half, score on a 7-play, 51-yard drive, a 25-yard pass from Jalen Hurts to A.J. Brown, making it 17-17. But then Logan Thomas, Terry McLaurin, and Sam Howell. If you were attempting to build a team, if you had the ability to build a team for a one-game winner-take-all matchup against the Eagles, Logan Thomas, Terry McLaurin, and Sam Howell need to be on your team. Because apparently these guys, their game elevates when they play the Eagles. Thomas would get a 7-yard pass from Sam Howell, culminating a 14-play, 75-yard drive that took 7 minutes and 14 seconds, pretty much the entirety of the end of the third quarter and into the beginning part of the fourth quarter. 24-17 Eagles. But then the Eagles flip the field again. They get the touchdown from a gorgeous pass from Jalen Hurts to a wide open Devontae Smith. 38 yards later is now 24-24. They get a turnover finally. Reed Blankenship redeems himself from a god-awful day, and he sets up an 8-yard pass from Jalen Hurts to Julio Jones. 31-24 Eagles, and then the Eagles kind of poured it on from there, making it 38-24 on the DeAndre Swift run. Jamison Crowder gets a garbage time touchdown for the Redskins and make it 38-31. And there you have your final score. Eagles 38, the Commanders 31. The Eagles survive, and they get the sweep of the Commanders. They get the all-important divisional win. They take a stranglehold on first place, even though the Cowboys did beat the Rams yesterday. But sets everything up for what's going to happen on Sunday. But I can't get past certain things of this game, and I wrote a few of them down. And obviously, let's talk about them before we flip the page on the Commanders, pretty much for the rest of the season. A.J. Brown yesterday, as I mentioned, had himself a hell of a day. 8 receptions, 130 yards, 2 touchdowns. Becomes the first player in NFL history with 6 straight games of 125 yards or more receiving. That's NFL history. That's the whole thing. You know, the greats of the game. The Jerry Rices, the Randy Mosses, the T.O.s, all of them have never done this. And so kudos to A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts for getting this, accomplishing this feat. Sam Howell, who finished the day 39 for 52 with 397 yards, 4 touchdowns, and an interception, just tore apart the Eagles secondary. Now, and when I say Eagles secondary, I'm also including the linebacker core. Because right now, folks, we've had problems with linebackers in this town over the years. Last year, we solved that problem. Little did we know it would only be for 1 year, because we're right back into that linebacker abyss in 2023. Nakobe Dean, let's get on him for a second. if Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter are not in the game together with Nakobe Dean is struggling. Now, is it because he's not able to cover anybody? Is Nakobe Dean not a good coverage guy? Potentially, but he's not getting any pressure off the edge. He's not getting any pressure up the middle. He's horrible in coverage. What is Nakobe Dean doing for this team? And now I'm starting to understand why he fell down to the third round. Because guess what? I don't think he's that good. And right now, he's really struggling to grab a hold of the defense. Maybe we've rushed him on. We've rushed him into this role as the quarterback of our defense. It doesn't seem like he's able to do that. The secondary, Reed Blankenship, as I mentioned, was god-awful yesterday. And then he redeemed himself with that deflection interception at the end of the game. That kind of was really important to get the field flipped back over in the Eagles' favor. But bad, just bad, just not really that good. And Keith Byard, it's his first game. I'm not going to get on him for that. I'm not. But just the secondary, the vanilla scheme that the secondary is running, the lack of a pass rush from the defensive front four is just really mind-boggling against certain players. Now, I don't know what the game plan will be against Dak Prescott. Prescott and CeeDee Lamb had career days yesterday, destroyed me in fantasy football. I was playing somebody that had both of them on their team. I think Prescott ended up with 38 points and CeeDee Lamb had 40. I got torched by them. They had themselves a day yesterday. Is that the same type of defense the Eagles are going to run against the Cowboys that they ran against the Redskins? I don't know. It better not be, because he's going to have another big day. But it's just been really frustrating to watch this defense at times work, because they just seem very vanilla and very concrete boot strapped to the ground type stuff. They're not flying around. It is not like it was last year. And we don't have the type of athletes or the playmakers on that defense that we had last year, especially in the linebacker core or in safety. Now, again, is the addition of Byard going to be better? Yeah, it probably will. And it probably will work its way in. But again, we're in week 9. And why wasn't this addressed 9 weeks ago and then during the 6-month offseason? It's just, it frustrates me. It does. It frustrates me to watch this Eagle defense struggle this way when you do have on paper a lot of good athletes, but they're just not able to they're not finding their mark. And we're out of time. We've run out of that time. It's now do or die time over the next 6 weeks. This is not the time to OJT. This is not the time to put Orion Kirkling in the 8th inning of the NLCS. This is the time where you build off of all that work and you exploit all that work, not trying to run new things. That time has passed. And we're not any better now than we were at the start of the season in some aspects of this defense. Ken Gainwell. Why is Kenny Gainwell getting a steady diet of running rushes? DeAndre Swift was a no-show for the first half of this football game. He showed up in the second half, but he was a no-show in the first half. Why is Kenny Gainwell getting the bulk of carries in certain game situations? He had that big fumble down there on the goal line. That can't happen. That cannot happen. Kenny Gainwell doesn't need to be playing another busted draft pick by Howie Roseman. Let's accept that, and let's put him on the scrap pile with the rest of them. But he doesn't need to be touching the football. Now, that also brings up another question about where is Rashad Penny? Is he hanging out with Taiwan Walker? I mean, where is he at? Is he that bad that he's not getting on the football field? Somebody answer that question. Does anybody ask that question of the Eagle brass down there, the beat reporters who got the pulse of the Eagles fans on their mind? Is anybody asking about that? Why is Rashad Penny not getting snaps? Now, I'm not saying if he's not ready to play and if he's no good to play, don't play him. But what are we doing about it? We're about what, 20 hours or so away from the end of the trade deadline. Howie went off and he added the safety. He made a trade today to add a draft pick, and we'll get into that in a minute. But where is the big blockbuster running back trade? I know Derrick Henry has been deemed off limits. They're not going to trade him. But what are we doing there? Listen, I'm okay with DeAndre Swift getting the yeoman's work. Now, there's durability issues with him. Is that what they're concerned about? Is he not touching the ball because they want to keep him fresh? I don't get certain aspects of this team right now. And Kenny Gainwell is one of them. He does not. What has he done to earn playing time? Because he's useless on the field. Again, a Howie Roseman draft pick. But who's keeping count, right? All right. And then Reed Blankenship just had maybe the worst game he's ever had as an Eagle with the exception of the interception there at the end of the game. And it was off a deflection, so let's not give him too much credit. But another bad effort by Blankenship, a real bad effort from Reed Blankenship. The Eagles actually trailed this at two certain points of this game. They were down 14-3 in the first half, 17-10 in the second half. Were able to finally rally their way to victory. But how much more of this can they do? How much more of this type of style of football can they do against the upper crust of the NFL, which is looming on their horizon? I really don't know, and it concerns me. They kind of wrapped things up in a bow yesterday. The Eagles committed 3 penalties for 14 yards. They've now committed 37 penalties for 292 yards, averaging about 4.6 penalties a game. You can't do a 0.6, so we'll round up. So they're averaging about 5 penalties and 37 yards in penalty yardage. They forced 1 turnover yesterday, and that's another thing. It has gone off a cliff. That is only their 10th turnover forced as a defense all season long. It's a putrid 1 a game. It's about 1 1/4, but again, we can't do a quarter of a turnover, so we're going to round down using the rule of 5, and that's 1. That's 1 game, which you're not going to win many games in this level. The defense last year was so opportunistic. The defense last year was a ball-hawking, ball-attacking defense. This defense is not that. They're not getting pressure. They're not causing turnovers, and it's now starting to kind of rear its ugly head. Jalen Hurts was sacked twice for 4 yards. Now 19 sacks for 97 yards. About 2 sacks a game, 12 yards a game. They committed 2 more turnovers yesterday. That brings up their total amount of 13 on the season, averaging out to about 2 a game. That's horrible. 2 a game. You're turning the football over 2 a game. How much are you going to be able to sustain against the Dallas Cowboys, Kansas City Chiefs, San Francisco 49ers, Buffalo Bills, and Dallas Cowboys by turning over the football twice a game? You're not going to be able to sustain. It's going to come back and bite you on the ass. They also got to Sam Howell 1 time for 9 yards. For now, they have 25 sacks for 157 yards on the season. It works out to about 3 sacks a game for about 20 yards a game. So, and then the red zone, they were 3 for 5, 17 for 33 now on the season for 52% effective rate. Again, a good number, 3 for 5. It's trending in the right direction, but they got to be better. Especially, you can't turn the football over down there. You can't cough it up on the end zone, on the goal line. You can't do things like that, man. But trending in the right direction, I guess. 17 for 33 on the season is not good. Only 52%. I don't know what else to say other than hope they do better, because time is over. And they got to do better, and they got to be better heading into next week, because we've run out of the preliminary rounds. We've entered the main event. But all in all, the Eagles get the win, 38-31. They are now, as I mentioned, 7-1 on the season, a firm grasp of first place in the NFC East, and that means their next opponent are the stinking Dallas Cowboys, folks. That's right. The Dallas Cowboys will roll in on Sunday. And I think this game is so important on a lot of different levels. And let's look at the first level. It's the Dallas friggin' Cowboys, right? Anytime you have an opportunity to beat them into the ground, you take it. You take it and you enjoy it. You dance all over their grave, and you know what? To their ashes, you enjoy it. So on the first level, it's the Dallas Cowboys. You got to beat them just because they're the Dallas freaking Cowboys and they stink, all right? Level number 2, of course, it's within the division. Eagles would win. If the Eagles would win this game, they would go 3-0 in the division. They would go 8-1 overall. Dallas would fall to 5-3. They would have a stranglehold. I mean, an absolute stranglehold over the NFC East. So looking at it purely from a divisional standpoint, this game is so important because it sends I'm not going to say a nail into the coffin in week 9, but it definitely puts the Cowboys kind of in panic mode a little bit at this point. You gotta handle it, man. You gotta serve it, man. You gotta win it. And I think winning that game would just be so detrimental to what the Dallas Cowboys would think in terms of the NFC East. And of course, it's a conference game, and you want to win, and you want to keep that conference record as good as possible for any tiebreaker scenarios that may happen as we move down the stretch run of the season. And it's the last game before the bye week. You definitely want to go into the bye week feeling comfortable, confident, good about yourselves. And they win against the Dallas Cowboys, 8-1. a 3-game lead in your division, a strong undefeated conference record would definitely make this team feel a lot a lot better. The fan base would feel great about it. So going into the bye week, I think it's crucial that you beat Dallas. But all in all, beat Dallas because it's Dallas. I don't think you have to go any higher than level 1 because it's freaking Dallas. But on Sunday, the Eagles they have not announced their uniforms. Dallas, though, has. So apparently Dallas is going to go with their white tops and their silver blue bottoms. And I guess the Eagles will go with some rendition of the midnight green tops. I don't know. And again, this is showing my age, which is fine. I'm okay with it. But it's a rule around the NFL. You always put the Dallas Cowboys in their blue jerseys when they go on the road. Now, again, this is an old school thing. I don't know if apparently not many people listen to it or honor it or follow it, but you always try to put Dallas in those blue uniforms whenever you possibly can. And I don't care if the Eagles got to go with the whites. I mean, whatever. I think you go with Kelly Green whites on this one and you turn Dallas around in their blues. But I guess that's not a thing anymore. I guess nobody cares about that. No one honors that tradition. But I would. And I would certainly put Dallas in the blue uniforms whenever I possibly could. But that's how it's going to go down. The weather down there at Lincoln Financial Field on Sunday right now is projected. It's going to be 64. I mean, that's a pretty decent temperature at 4 o'clock in the afternoon in early November at this point. I'll take it. But that's what the weather is. There's a slight chance of rain. There'll be overcast. Maybe rain plays a portion in this. Maybe it doesn't. I don't know. But 64 degrees, I will definitely take it. As far as injuries go, not much coming out of this game. I mean, what am I talking about? There's 2 major things coming out. Jalen Carter, the Eagle defensive end, dealing with the injury that took him out of the game yesterday, a back problem. The MRI apparently did not reveal anything. The Eagles announced that he will be, they're kind of taking a day-by-day situation with him. They want to get him back on the field and see how he is. So that Eagles might have dodged a bullet there on the Jalen Carter situation. Obviously, probably a huge bullet, as they definitely want to keep everybody, especially him, on the field. As for the Dallas Cowboys, they're dealing with some injuries, not necessarily from the game, but they got an injury of their own that they've been dealing with to one of their starters. Tyron Smith continues to be out while he's dealing with a neck injury. They thought he was going to be a go against the Rams. They held him out. They think he might be ready for the Eagle game. We'll see as the week progresses. It's kind of hard to project the injury report or the injuries for next week's game on a Monday of the week that just completed. But Tyron Smith dealing with a neck injury, and of course Jalen Carter with the back problem. But apparently the MRI did not prove to be anything severe, and that's your injury situation for the Eagles and Cowboys heading into this game on this Monday. Things will definitely change as we move through the week. But as far as what I think is going to happen on Sunday, listen, it doesn't matter to me if it's the Eagles at 1-7, 7-1, 2-5, 4-3, 3-4. I don't care what the Eagles record is. I don't care what the Cowboy record is. Anytime you have a chance to beat the Dallas Cowboys, you got to do it. This is the Eagles Super Bowl. It was for many years when the Eagles were not a relevant football team, and they had 2 chances every year to kind of stick it to the Cowboys. That should still ring true. You have a chance to stick it to the Cowboys, you do. But what I think is going to happen on Sunday, I think it's going to be a steady dose of what we've been seeing for the last 8 weeks. I think the Eagles at times will frustrate you. I think the play calling, even though it's getting a little bit better in the red zone, is still too vanilla for my taste. Jalen Hurts is hurt. He's hurt, and it's obvious he's hurt. I don't know how much that affects. Is that affecting the play calling that much? Is he too hurt to effectively be in the quarterback? I disagree. He had a great day on the day against his day against the Washington Redskins was a phenomenal day. I think the best game of the season at this point for Jalen. On Sunday, he, me and Kyle both picked him as our MVP. He was 29 for 38 for 319 yards and 4 touchdowns. But if that's the hurt version of Jalen Hurts, man, I sure missed that non-hurt. But Kyle mentioned it on the breakdown last week. This is now a trend. This is the 3rd straight year that we're dealing with a Jalen Hurts injury. How hurt is he? And does it really kind of boil down to that? Does it boil down to what Jalen Hurts can possibly do with this team in the pocket or with the running? So I think that's what you're going to see is what we've seen all season up to this point. Whether or not, though, the Eagles can sustain pressure on Dak Prescott, limit his ability. He plays well here. He plays well against this football team historically. But can Dak Prescott be limited? Can Dak Prescott be pressured? He's not that good of a quarterback. But if they sit back and they let him be Sam Howell, I'm saying this, Dak Prescott's going to pick you apart. I mean, everybody will pick you apart. So if it's the same thing, if it's the same recipe defensively, it's going to be a hairy game. It's going to be tight. It's going to be tough. It's going to be back and forth. But if the Eagles play up to their abilities and up to their potential, and they throw away this crappy vanilla safety plan, the Eagles are a more talented football team than the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys are a very good football team, but the Eagles are a more talented team than they are. But they've been playing down the competition. They've been playing the smartest coordinator in the room game, and it's cost them. So I think it's the same thing. I think it's the same recipe on Sunday. Whether or not, though, the Eagles recognize that, make some in-game adjustments, and attempt to exploit the Cowboy weaknesses like Tyron Smith potentially not being in the lineup. CeeDee Lamb, is CeeDee Lamb that good of a wide receiver? He's not. But they got to take him away from Dak Prescott. The Eagles also got to open up the field for Devontae more. They got to open it up for Julio Jones more. They got to open it up more for Dallas Goedert. Teams are going to start keying in on A.J. Brown. There's going to be double, triple team coverage on this guy. It's going to leave somebody open. There's got to be a plan for that. If the Eagles can recognize all that and make those in-game adjustments and stay off their damn phones at halftime, I mean, what is this, man? What are we doing here? Then I think the Eagles will win. But I think it's going to be tough because if it's the same thing we've seen, it might be it might be a loss. But it's going to be a good game. My 3 keys to Eagle victory, really basic stuff here. Let me get to my 3 keys right here. I have them right here. So my 3 keys to Eagle victory. Key number 3, in no order. Well, actually, yeah. You got to keep spreading that ball around. As I mentioned, A.J. Brown is going to start getting his noticed triple teams. He's going to get noticed, and it's going to start leaving some people that are open. Jalen Hurts has got to be looking for that open receiver. We saw how it worked out with that gorgeous 38-yard touchdown pass to Devontae Smith on Sunday. Keep doing that. Keep getting those wide receivers open. Julio Jones is not the Julio Jones of 3 years ago or 5 years ago, but he's still a very valuable target and a valuable weapon because he's going to get some space. He can still work in space, and he's going to get that. Feed him the ball. Get him some touches. Keep spreading the ball around. My number 2 key to Eagles victory is no more Kenny Gainwell. I get it. Activate Rashad Penny. Again, as I said, if he can't play, if he's that bad, if he can't see the field, I get it. But if it's a Kenny Gainwell dressing over Rashad Penny because of scheme or analytics, scrap that. Rashad Penny needs to dress this weekend. We need to see. Give him a shot. He hasn't played all season. Or he's got 1 touch all year? Kenny Gainwell is not the answer. I don't want to see Kenny Gainwell. I can't have him cough the football up anymore down by the end zone. Let's see Rashad Penny get some opportunities. And then my number 1 key to Eagles victory is get to Dak Prescott. Don't let Dak Prescott be comfortable. Force the issue against Dak Prescott. And if the Eagles do that, the Eagles may win. But if they don't, and if they let the play be dictated to them like they've been over the last 8 weeks, it's going to get hairy. Steven checking in. Steven, what's up, man? I seriously hope we stop with the damn TOs. I guess it's talking about the A.J. Brown thing, and stop making the W is a W excuses. No, and I don't know if you listen, Steven. I wholeheartedly agree with you. The W is a W excuse only lasts so long, and we're into that stretch of the season where I don't know if you're going to be able to get by with that. You're not going to be able to play the type of game you've been playing and expect to win. We got to play better. We got to play like we can play. But those are my 3 keys to Eagles victory, and I believe if they do those things, they will win. Let's get on down to my prediction and score. Let's talk about Kyle, because Kyle did provide me a score. No, he's not here. Kyle, first of all, for those of you keeping track at home, me and Kyle both had the Eagles last week, so we both got it. We're both now 6-2 on the season, and we both picked Jalen Hurts as our MVP. And guess what? I think it's a consensus that Jalen Hurts was the MVP. Kyle, after picking Jalen Hurts for the first 8 weeks of the season consistently, finally hits on Jalen Hurts as the MVP. I pick him for 1 week, and he gets it. So me and Kyle across the board. Now, my final was 31-28. His final was 31-27. By virtue of the 31-28, yeah, it was me. I picked closest to the rate score, so I get the gold star. But me and Kyle both got the game right. We're now 6-2. As for Sunday, Kyle likes the Eagles 33-30 in overtime. So Kyle's looking at a classic Eagle-Cowboy matchup, and he likes Hassan Reddick as his MVP. I like the Eagles in this game as well, 31-28, and I think Devontae Smith is going to be the MVP of the game because, as I mentioned, the A.J. Brown stuff is going to start becoming an issue. They're going to start paying a lot of attention to him. It should open things up, and Devontae Smith should feast off that. But that's my prediction and Kyle's prediction for the week. We both like the Eagles to win, and I like Jalen Hurts as my MVP, and Kyle likes Hassan Reddick. So there you have the Birds breakdown segment here on the Edge of Philly Sports. Let me put the graphic back up again. No Kyle Quinn this week, but I handled it adequately. So no question of the week. Question of the week actually is going to be at the end of the show. So let's transition now to your Philadelphia Flyers, who are playing, as I've been kind of peeking off to the left there throughout the night. It's 2-2, I believe, in the second period. I'm not sure if it's still in the second. Flyers are coming off of a very interesting game on Saturday that I was in attendance to. That's right. I was down there at the center. I was the Flyers' hometown hero on Saturday, so I had the opportunity to be honored by the Flyers. I got a jersey out of the deal. It was pretty fun. Met Bob Kelly. It was cool. Enjoyed myself for the afternoon. Wish it would have been a better hockey game, but 7-4 to the Ducks. They lost, and now for the season, of course, the Flyers, who have now 4-3-1 for 9 points. Are back at it here tonight against Tony DeLangelo and the Carolina Panthers, as Carolina Hurricanes, as we welcome back DeLangelo back to Philly. Morgan Frost returns to the starting lineup for the first time all season, so he's getting an opportunity. 7-4 against a team like the Ducks, who's rebuilding too, is not something you really want to hang your hat on. Sam Ersson did not play well, but Tortorella mentioned it wasn't all Ersson. It wasn't. The team played horribly on Saturday. There was too many defensive turnovers deep in the zone. Just not a real clean game by the team. And you're going to have these types of breakdowns, right? You're going to have this type of stuff when you're dealing with a young team, but it's really disheartening to watch the Flyers get, pretty much skated out of the arena by a team that's in a lot of ways worse than they are in the Ducks, because the Ducks are truly building from the bottom up. But yeah, it was not a positive day, but I had a great time. It was fun, great weather, and it was enjoyable with my family. So thank you to the Philadelphia Flyers. It was a great afternoon, and tonight as I mentioned, the Carolina Hurricanes are in town, as the Flyers have 3 games this week. Actually 4 games. They got the Hurricanes tonight, a home and home with Buffalo, and then LA. So 3 games this week, and we got you covered, of course, here on the Edge of Philly Sports. Steven says Penny has a fumbling problems, unfortunately, as well. Listen, TO's turnovers. Oh, okay. Yeah, I agree with the turnovers. We're up to, what did I say, 13 for the season now? We're averaging about 2 a game. Then that's a problem. If they're not letting Rashad Penny play because he can't keep his hands on the football, and you got Kenny Gainwell coughing the ball up on the goal line, what are your options here? You got DeAndre Swift and Boston Scott. Once again, not an adequate running back room. Should have been addressed 4, 5, 6 months ago. Where are you now, Your Highness Howie Roseman? Because that's your responsibility to address those issues, right? But at this point, you know what, Steven? I really don't understand. It's almost like one of those things where damned if you do, damned if you don't. You already seen what you get from Gainwell. You give Rashad Penny an opportunity until you bring somebody else here. I don't know what else you're going to do, because we just can't keep this up. It's wasting our time. It's wasting games. It's wasting opportunities letting Kenny Gainwell touch the football. Now, I texted him at halftime and explained that to him. He got back to me, and we had a nice long conversation about it. Wow, man. Well, anyway, so, but no, it needs to end. The Kenny Gainwell experiment needs to end. Put him up on the scrap heap of the rest of the bust draft picks of your great GM, Howie Roseman. Steven says he likes what he sees from Sanheim. Yeah, he's actually benefiting, I think, the most from not having Ivan Provorov or Tony Delangelo here. This is kind of in a lot of ways Sanheim's defense now. I mean, maybe that's what it was. Maybe he needed to be cut free and say, you know what, sink or swim, dude, it's you. But he's playing a lot better. His defense still leaves some imagination, but offensively, definitely liking what I'm seeing. And I wanted to run him out of here. I still think he's one of those tradable assets if need be, but and especially for the money we're paying him, I don't think he's actually living up to that yet. But yeah, no, definitely early returns on Travis Sanheim are very good, and I agree with you there, Steven. Yeah, so I definitely agree. Brian Johnson, Star Wars 99 says fire Brian Johnson. Is it all Brian Johnson's fault, though? Star Wars 99? Is it? I'm not saying that it's not, and I'm not saying that there's something there, but you know what? Jalen Hurts is hurt, right? He's got a knee brace on. How much are the Eagles' game plans offensively geared around an injured quarterback? Is anybody taking that into consideration? Now, it's hard to say, well, then get him out of the game when he's putting up, 400 yards and 4 touchdowns. It's hard to say that. Now, he did have a fumble again. He's been turning the ball over at an epic clip this year. But still, are you better served with an injured Jalen Hurts or a healthy Marcus Mariota? I don't know the answer to that. But I'm not telling you to sign Brian Johnson to a lifelong contract and hand him the keys of the car. I'm not saying that. But there's definitely something, I think, to the dealing with an injured quarterback in Jalen Hurts, that maybe the game plan is more geared around keeping him upright. You know what I mean? So, but that's a good point. And obviously, the fire Brian Johnson talk, as the offense continues to sputter, is starting to gain momentum. And I'm not saying you're off base. I'm not saying that at all. But I think there's more to look at there than just he's a bad play caller. I don't like all the tank talk for the Flyers. Let's winning culture bloom. Steven, yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying, but at the end of the day, when you muddle around middle of the pack bad, you get middle of the pack draft picks, you get middle of the pack attention, you get all that middle of the pack stuff. I'm not saying one good bad season, a number 1 overall draft pick, flips the script pretty quick. And again, there's discussions to be said on both sides. The problem with the Flyers is, they've taken us through muddling in the middle of the pack bad for so many years now that a tank job would be like the end for a lot of Flyers fans. One of the things Bob Kelly was telling me on Saturday was how this new regime has, rehumanized the Flyers as an organization. Is trying to reconnect with the community. And there's a lot of repair that needs to be done there. And part of that repair process is giving the fans a respectable product on the ice, not necessarily a winning product, but a respectable product to build from. And, throwing it all out the window and saying, let's go 1-80, 1-81, it's probably not good for a business standpoint. But when you are a 500 club and you're falling into that 15, 16 spot, and you're just outside you're just outside the lottery, and you're on the outside, you're 10 points away from a playoff spot, but you're not high enough to get a lottery pick. I mean, that's purgatory, and it's tough. It's tough to get things kind of jump started. Now the Flyers have some top end talent and young draft picks that are kind of on their way, but those two are prospects. Cutter Guthier and Mishkov, they're both prospects right now. Will they pan out and grade out to be good NHL players? They might be, but they're prospects. So it's a really intricate dance that they're doing right now, the Flyers. So, but 2-2 right now at the end of the second period. They're holding their own against a good Carolina Hurricane team. It is what it is. Sean need to get put out of Philly. Sean need to get put out of Philly. Sean Desai? Sean Couturier? Be more specific. What kills me is how Johnson calls so few run plays with their own quarterback is playing through a bone bruise. That is madness. Yeah, and again, it is madness. You got a running back. What, DeAndre Swift had 3 touches in the first half, and he had the bulk of his carries in the second half. He was not a factor in the first half. Gainwell was in. didn't see the ball that much, and when he did, he fumbled. But yet they have our quarterback dropping back and passing. Maybe it's a situation of we have more offensive weapons on the outside. We have more offensive weapons than our wide receivers and our tight end versus our running back right now. Give Jalen safe, high percentage passes to throw. You know what I mean? I don't know. I do not know the situation there, but you're right. It's frustrating. But there's a whole thing going on. You know what I mean? Star Wars says goodbye, Street. Yes, Darius Street was traded today by Howie Roseman to the Atlanta Falcons in exchange for a 6th-round draft pick. We also sent a 7th-round pick their way next year. So the Eagles get a 6th-round pick from the Atlanta Falcons for next year for Darius Street, which really doesn't move the needle at all for me. The Falcons needed a defensive player. We, I guess, needed a draft pick. That's not really satisfying any of the needs that we have on this football team today. Was Bijan Robinson part of the trade? Maybe, I don't know, but obviously he wasn't. But that is this it? You know, we're about 19, 18 hours away from the trade deadline. Does he make a move? Is there a running back coming here? Is it going to cost a 1st-round draft pick? Is it going to cost one of the 2nd-round picks we have? I mean, what is it going to cost to get that player here? Or is it a move that he even makes? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, it doesn't really move the needle at all for me. That Street got traded. It's an asset we picked up. So there you go. I agree on the high pressure passes, but not sure this team is built for a dink and dunk style offense. I don't think they are either. They're a high octane offense. They got maybe two top 5 wide receivers in the NFL, and they got a tight end that can spread the field. And you sprinkle in Jones, who's not Jones of 3-5 years ago, but he could still be productive. They're not. But again, is it the quarterback? Is that the hindrance right now? And as I said, Jalen Hurts is playing pretty well. And if this is the product of Jalen Hurts being hurt, I mean, God damn, get well soon, because we can definitely do what we got to do. But do you continue riding the hurt Jalen Hurts versus the healthy Mariota? I don't think there's really even a discussion there. So this offensive plan might be to keep the quarterback upright. So I don't know. I have to wait and see. I guess it's Sean Desai needs to get out of Philly. All right. Well, does he though? I mean, what's he working with over there? The secondary is crap. All right. Our secondary stinks. And did Sean Desai build the secondary? No. How he did, right? He brought back Bradbury. He brought back Slay. Bradbury's not having the year he had last year, right? The safety situation was screwed up from the beginning. They never properly addressed it. Reed Blankenship is not the answer there, right? He is not the answer. He got cooked up yesterday. Was the recipient of a deflection interception that kind of makes his day a little bit more palatable. But the secondary stinks. The linebackers stink. We're not getting any pressure from our linebackers. I don't consider Hassan Reddick a linebacker. He's a defensive end, right? He's an edge rusher. We don't have coverage linebackers. We don't have coverage people. So yeah, Sean Desai is he setting the world on fire as a coordinator? No, but he's doing a pretty damn good job, in my opinion, based on the quality of players that he's dealing with on our defense. Defense is not good. It is not the defense that it was last year. It's not opportunistic. It's not athletic. It's not high octane. They're not getting to the quarterback nearly as much as they were last year, and they're not causing nearly as many turnovers as they were last year. So I think based on all of that, the fact that they're 7-1 speaks pretty highly of the defensive coordinator. All right, because honestly, the defense stinks. It does. And again, the Eagles blinders people are going to tell you that I'm crazy, but it's you're going to see it over the next 6 weeks. I'm telling you. Washington called Eagles D at the right time. Transition state, no Carter, Davis, Roby. It's almost understandable. No, see, again, Steven, you just said no more excuses with the win's a win crap. That's a win is a win excuse. Is this team built on depth? Isn't your GM supposed to be this wild, magical, mythical unicorn of a beast who can turn gold or coal into gold? And builds us depth and layers. It's never about your starting unit. It's always about the 2s and the 3s. And right now, this team barely has a decent starting unit. And we have nothing behind them. And that's not Desai's fault. That's not Sirianni's fault. That's friggin' Howie Roseman's fault. He has not built an adequate enough team to sustain the Eagles through these injuries. So I don't want to hear that. Transition state, caught him at the right time, trap game. Screw all that. They're playing bad. Say it. It's okay. This is a safe space. All right. I get you. This is a safe space. All right. This defense is not good right now. And they're playing down to lesser competition. And they're surviving. But what's going to happen in the next 6 weeks? What's going to happen when that lesser competition? Don't forget, this is a gauntlet we didn't have last year. We didn't have to run this last year. So 7-1, potentially, hopefully 8-1 after they beat the Cowboys. What's it going to be like after that? That's concerning me. And it's not catching them in the right spot or in the transition. And, it was a Thursday on the third day of the month with the sixth day of the week. Ain't none of that. All right. It's not built correctly. It's not as good as last year. Star Wars says he hopes Jalen Carter not injured. Well, the last I had heard was, I guess the MRI was negative. I didn't read negative, but they're going to basically get him back on the field tomorrow and kind of see where they are with him. But yes, you're right. I hope the injury is not that bad either. We cannot afford to lose him. No. Because does Derek Barnett even play for this team anymore? Does anybody hurt his name at all? He's not even committing the bad penalties anymore. I mean, he's nothing anymore. Get a personal foul, man, so I can know you're alive, brother. It's just really bad right now. Bradbury, not a slot cornerback. He is not a slot cornerback. And honestly, to be honest with you, we should have let him go and signed somebody else because I think we captured his one last good year, and now he's what he is. So, Jalen Carter injured, not good. Again, they're taking kind of a wait and see on that. I don't think it's that bad. They are weak in the slot right now, straight up. They are very weak in the slot right now, and they're weak up front. Why is this team not getting pressure to the quarterback? Why are our linebackers so inept in coverage? Can anybody answer me that? Is there any Nakobe Dean haters out here? Does anybody want to jump to Nakobe Dean's aid? What is this guy doing out there? Can't cover. Doesn't get anything interior. People are running through him. He's out of position. Hey, Roseman, right? Am I wrong? But what's wrong with the Flyers, guys? What the hell, man? You got me back on the Eagles. So the Flyers, 9 points, 4-3-1. We're kind of chugging through this, but the Flyers got 3 games this week. And don't forget, for those of you who are wondering, and you all should be wondering, this is our schedule here on the Edge of Philly Sports this week, your Halloween week. You got me talking some Philly sports. Party on Broad is at 9 right after me, behind about 2 minutes. And then tonight, Clear the Ice, the Hurricanes. Tomorrow's Halloween, but Chalk Talk will be there. And then everything else that we have here on the network to get you through your final days of October and into the month of November and into Dallas week. Obviously, that's the biggest part of this week. So make sure you're checking everything out here on the network. Star Wars 9 Reed Blankenship interception was nice to see. It was lucky to see. It was a deflection. He was in the right place at the right time. Reed Blankenship sucks. Is it ship, right? Reed Blankenship sucks. All right? Sucks. He's not the answer long term either. Okay? He's not a Super Bowl winning team's safety. He's not. He's not. But we're going to pretend that he is, right? For the sake of that. But he got cooked yesterday. He got cooked alive yesterday. He was lucky that his day redeemed itself by being in the right place at the right time for that interception. Come on, let's kind of call it what it was, right? It was great to see, but let's call it what it was. So there you have your Flyers talk, and now we're going to transition to the final part of my night, and that's your Philadelphia Phillies. For those of you who watched the show last week, and I hope you did. If not, you need to go and check it out. It's been podcasted. It's all over the place. The Phillies, right? Let's kind of get on to them now. Steven's got one more here. Blank is not a good cover guy, and hopefully Byron gets healthy and Robbie coming back allows Bradbury to get back to his position. Absolutely. And then obviously losing Maddox hurt this team too. Really hurt this team. And but yeah. Okay. So I agree with that, Steven. Absolutely. Some people are playing out of position, but again, it's all about depth, and Howie Roseman has not properly depth this team this year. The bottom line. It's okay to say that. It's okay. This is a safe spot. Howie can't hurt you here. All right. You can hit him all you want here. I'm more than capable of accepting that. All right. Come on, fire away at him. It's a safe place here. how we can't hurt you here. Either can the Eagle disciples, even the green sunglass wearing, excuse making Eagle fans out there who want to see something that really is not there. They can't hurt you here either. Okay, you're amongst friends. You can talk all you want about Howie Roseman and about the team as well. Because I know we're all Eagles fans, but it's okay to criticize, right? Getting back to the Phillies, I went off on an epic rant about how it was a national embarrassment and the Phillies should be ashamed of themselves, and I am not backing off any of that. I still feel that way, but it is not healthy to hold on to all that, right? It's not healthy to keep beating that dead horse down. And it's time for us to move on as a fan base. It's time for us to look past this. Not necessarily look past it, but to move on. But what it is not okay to do is not talk about it. It's okay to talk about it. It's okay to continuously bring it up. It's okay to continue to vent and to continue to exercise those demons, because that's healthy. That promotes healing, not regression or repression when you don't talk about it and we stay away from it. All right? It's not healthy not to talk about it. You got to talk about it. And I'm not necessarily going to get into that. We already know what happened. But I am going to kind of go a direction with this thing tonight. Steve says I am already over the Phil's loss. The team that adjusted won. The team that not adjusted straight. Yeah, okay. See, now you're digging up those feelings, Steven. That's partly correct, but there's another part to that that's not correct. All right, the Phillies weren't a complete team. I mean, right? Can we agree to that? There's some issues on this team that have been there all year, mainly on the offensive side of the ball, which is interesting to talk about with the team that hit over 200 home runs and hit 59 of them in August. It's hard to say that that there were some offensive issues with this team, and it was evident in the final play of the season, the final at bat. The man who stood up there holding the Phillies season in his hands was Jake Cave, which was not, in my opinion, an adequate bench option there for your season to be rested in. So as we get into this period of time now, and I guess the World Series is having its time. It's game 3, I heard. I know it's 1-1. I haven't watched any of it. But 5 days after the World Series ends, it's going to be an MLB free agency. And we're going to get into this more deeper as we get into free agency. But when I'm looking at this team right now and some of the issues or some of the deficiencies that need to be corrected and that can be corrected in this offseason, there's the obvious pitching issue. And that's going to be a whole dance, right? Is Aaron Nola? I think Aaron Nola is a safe bet there to bring him back. It's all going to depend on time and money, what the Phillies are willing to pay and how much years they're willing to give him. As I mentioned earlier, Andrew Painter getting hurt this year really, really hurt the Phillies. It pushed things kind of back. It was the wrong time or the wrong year for Andrew Painter not to get his opportunity to pitch for the Phillies this year. Because I think the plan was let Nola go because now they know what they got in Painter. Painter's now your 2 or your 3. And you got Suarez in there. You got a couple other guys, back end rotational guys. And now we can kind of build towards hopefully Mick Abel and McGeary coming up in 25 and beyond. But losing Painter and not seeing what Painter has really hurt this team. Because now it'll put the Phillies over the barrel a little bit with Aaron Nola. And it's going to be whether or not the signing of Nola is going to boil down to years and money, right? I would be okay with 3 years and maybe heavy money on the front. I'd be okay with 3 years. I think that's acceptable. And I would be on board with the 3-year contract extension for him. I don't think that's going to be the hardest deal because there's a ton of starting pitchers out there. Blake Snell, Clevenger, Urias. I mean, there's definitely some bridge players out there that can fill the role as your number 2. And don't forget, Wheeler's going to be a free agent at the end of 24. So some of these young kids, and again, this whole Painter thing really, really puts the Phillies pitching situation in a cloudy point. But Mick Abel, McGeary, they need to take steps forward in 24 because they're going to be needed in 25. If not, we're going to find ourselves in that window of winning that we're so in tune to around this town. It might close without us really knowing it. if we cannot figure out what we're going to do with this rotation over the next 2 seasons. And again, the Painter injury really helped. It really hurts. But I think the pitching thing, especially for 24, will work itself out. Now, if the Phillies look at this season in 24 as potentially a all or nothing type of year, where they need to throw all their eggs in the basket because they don't know with the pending free agency of Zach Wheeler where things are going to be. And I believe Schwarber's a free agent in 25 as well. If they throw all the eggs in the 24 basket, and I think we'll know that by the aggression that they have in the offseason in terms of making moves, trades, and signing players. We'll get a vibe where Dombrowski is on that. But I think, honestly, and what Star Wars 99 says, Julio Jones got to get, yeah, he does. He's got to get more catches. I agree. Steven says sack fly was most non-existent all season as their ability to tearing off the scab there, Steven, but you're right. You're absolutely right. I've hit the runners in scoring position stat. It's been really nice since I did the show. When did I do it? On Thursday. And went on my rant. I haven't thought about runners in scoring position. I haven't thought about runners left on base. I haven't thought about any of that since Thursday night or since Friday, since I watched the show. I haven't thought about any of that. RISP has been out of my mind for like 4 days. It's been so friggin' great. But you're right. You're absolutely right, Steven. Phils don't have the so it's okay. Pache never. Okay, so and then this is kind of where I'm headed with this, Steven. If the Phillies are in all or nothing mode in 24, and we'll see that here through free agency and what they do with Hoskins. I think Hoskins is gone. I think if the money in the years are right, they bring back Nola. And I think what they do is they get uber aggressive when it comes to that bench. Because honestly, I'm okay with the position players. I really am. I like Harper at first. I like Stott at second. I like Turner at short. I like Bohm at third. Realmuto is all we got left as catcher. And then the outfield, you got Martian left, you got Castellanos in right, and you got potentially Rojas, Pache, potentially Crawford. I don't know if he's in the mix in 2024. But I'd like offensively, defensively, or I should say defensively. I like that. I'm not concerned about it. My concern is on the bench. And it was a concern that I had heading into this season. It was a concern that was never properly addressed. It's a concern that's going to rear its ugly head in 24 if it's not properly addressed. We got to go out and we got to find more offense for the bench. Keeping around Garrett Stubbs after what he pulled is non-existent. He needs to go. So we're going to have to find a backup catcher. But that backup catcher could come from the system. It doesn't have to be anybody on the pile, right? There's a couple out there, but I'm not really ready to spend. Marchand, I know he dealt with injuries last year. He's kind of muddled around. I don't know if he's ever going to be a major league catcher. I know Logan O'Hoppy's a major league catcher, but he's not in the mix anymore. But I think I think Marchand deserves a shot this year to be the backup. Again, we're going to ask him to be more defense than offense because my bench is going to be set up a little bit differently. I'm going to keep a Sosa maybe around for his defense because he can play all positions. Pache, no, I'm not keeping him here. I don't need another defensive, speedy center fielder sitting on the bench because I don't necessarily need a pinch runner anymore. I mean, it's not 1998. I don't need pinch runners, right? I don't. I can live without that. I need bats. I'm going to go out and I'm going to look for a de facto DH. I'm going to look for a guy in free agency that's a DH now that can come in and be that offensive option. I don't want him to play defense. He needs, because we don't do that anymore. We don't put defensive substitutions in with pinch hitters, right? Because the pitcher doesn't bat. I need someone to come in and be able to hit the ball as a bench DH. Now, hear me out. A couple names out there right now: Zach Collins, Carlos Santana, and JD Martinez and Jorge Soler. These are all. And the Soler's got a player option for $9 million, so he may exercise it and stay there or not. But those are the players right now that I would take onto my bench right now. One of those guys. That's all I would want. One. Give me one bat off. Give me one bona fide power, not power, but more of a slashing bat, a bat that hits the off fields. Give me one guy, and I'd be okay. I'd be totally okay with that. Get rid of Stubbs. Bring Marchand in. Give me Sosa. Um, Give me one of those free agents that I just mentioned for the DH option. And I don't know, give me, I guess Pache can stick around. That's all I want. But I can't go back to another season where there's no bona fide offensive options off my bench. And I can't go back through another season where Jake Cave has my season in his hands. And he's, I can't do that anymore. Cannot do that anymore. Parting ways with Crawford, Painter, Rojas, that will be a tough one to do. I don't know necessarily parting ways with these guys. I don't know if we really are at that point. Parting with Crawford, Painter, Rojas. I don't know what do you mean, like trading them, Steven? I'm not advocating that. I think we can trade some people that are currently on the team. I said this on my program the other night. I would be very surprised. I would be mortified surprised to see Nick Castellanos and Kyle Schwarber back next year. One of them two won't be here. I will put money on it. Someone's getting moved. They gotta. We're going to need to get creative. We don't have the money to go out and potentially have to sign a number 2 starter if we don't go ahead and re-sign Nola. We're losing too much money through the luxury tax. We're losing our international signing money. We're getting penalized by losing draft picks. We got to figure out a more creative way to get some of these things, some of these issues kind of fixed. So I would be very surprised to see Schwarber or Castellanos back. I'm not advocating it at all by touching Crawford, Painter, or Rojas. Not a word. Those guys are the future, and I want them to stay here to be that future. I'd like to see Marchand start to get worked in. Stubby doesn't fit. What he did by shooting off his mouth in game 2, after game 2, I'm done with him, man. He provides nothing. He provided absolutely nothing for this team, and yet he decided he wanted to shoot his mouth off. He had no business to do that. You never have any business doing that, but a player of that caliber doing that is really bad. He needs to go. Optically, we need to send a message to this team that you can't be like that. You can't smell yourself like that. You got to go. You got to go. Take his Budweiser beer case hat and get on down the road, man. Don't want him anymore. As I said, Marchand, he's a cheap option. Give him a chance. Maybe that's what he needs. I don't know. He had some injury problems last season. He was rocketing up through the system. Girardi loved him. Give him a shot. Keep Price at first. I agree. Hoskins has got to go. What's funny about Sosa is they touted his D, yet all I see from him are bad throws and mediocre D. Yeah, but here's the thing. I don't know if it was the quality of defense that he gives you. It's the amount of defense. He can play all positions, and that's a huge thing to be able to do. And I get it. It may not be good defense, but he can play them all. You know what I mean? It's like, was it quantity over quality type situation, Steven? I'll keep him here for that purpose and that purpose only. Trade for pitching. That's my exact point. One of those two has got to be traded for some pitching, and not necessarily maybe some starting pitching, but some help in the bullpen too, right? But I think we could definitely flip a Schwarber or a Castellanos for a number 2 or a fringe 2-3. I'm okay with that, but we're going to have to figure something out. I don't have room on this team for Kyle Schwarber and Nick Castellanos together next year. It doesn't work. It's too much. It's too much power. We need some more hitting. I don't need gorillas anymore. Steven says he can't imagine Wheeler is going to be great forever. No, and I think that's part of the problem with Wheeler. Don't forget, Wheeler early on in his career, Steven, as you know as well as anybody, that he had a lot of injury problems. I mean, he's a Tommy John guy. We've been really, really, really lucky with him over his time here in Philadelphia. That luck will run out soon. I mean, he's what, 32? This might be it. This year, 24, might be the year where we run out of the luck. I don't know, but you're right. Wheeler's on the wrong side of his career. We're going to have to part ways with him at the end of 24. I agree. I don't like it. Yeah. Get rid of Kimbrel. Ooh. Of course. Could he? Can Craig Kimbrel come back? Or is it more like a Mitch Williams type thing? I know it's not quite as bad as that. It's not giving up game 7 or the home run in game 6 of the World Series. I know it's not, but he's got this stink on him now, right? He's got this this odor about him that it's never going to work here for him to be here. It's just not. And he's a free agent anyway. He's a 1-year deal guy, so he won't be back. Hell, he might retire. I mean, what else more can he do? Kimbrel ain't even signed. He signed a 1-year deal, so he's a free agent at the end of the year. or in 5 days after the World Series. If Harper stays at first, Hoskinson's gone. Did he look to deal with Derek Hall as well? I don't see why you would have to deal with Derek Hall. I really don't. He's a minor league guy. He's not bucking for some time. I think his service time does start, though. That's an interesting situation too. His contract is ticking, but I mean, Derek Hall's not on nobody's radar. Derek Hall is a good little story, but again, he's not ready for this spotlight. So if they got to deal him. I mean, we can find a pitcher for Derek Hall, take him. Yeah, I used to be really high on Derek Hall too, but I'm done watching. I don't like home run. I like home run hitters, but I want more. We need more types of slasher type players. I can't do this another year. Steven says, I think his natural position is shortstop, and that's why I see some of my garbage from this. Well, yeah, his natural position is he is a shortstop, but again, he has the ability to play all positions. And again, I'm not saying that he does it well, but he does have the ability. But that's my little take on the Phillies. I give you my take on the Flyers. It's hard to talk about the Flyers when they're, only 7, 8, 9 games into a season. So, but so far, kind of what we expected from them. The Eagles, they got to figure it out. They got to clean up their act. The gauntlet is now. They've been lucky. They've been so lucky. But now they're entering a part of their season that they didn't have last year, and they're going to have to deal with it. And hopefully they're ready. And I don't know if they are. But remember everything that's going on here at EOP. And don't forget, if you have any workman's compensation, motor vehicle accident, personal injury, or criminal law issues, Dave Cherry at 610-565-0300 is the man you got to call. Tell Dave, Matty B, and Talk My Philly Sports that Matty B sent you. And as I promised to you guys, going out tonight, I'm going to end things on a positive note, right? 24 home runs the Phillies bashed in the postseason this year. They set all kinds of records, right? They were a home run hitting juggernaut. And of course, we died by that. We lived by it and we died by it. But it was fun to watch it. And for those of you who know me, I do a lot of work on the Fighting's Final. Hell, it's my show. I started it. But when I do host the Fighting's Final on Sundays, I typically review the week that was in Phillies home runs throughout the season. Well, I'm going to have a little special treat for you. Tonight, we're going to go out with looking at the postseason that was in Phillies home runs. I'm going to play you all 24 Phillies home runs. Hopefully, it assuages your grief some more. Hopefully, it puts a smile on your face like it did me when I was putting it together today. It was nice to see that. It brought me back to simpler times. But it's been a pleasure. I'm glad to be back live. As I said, we're going to make some scheduling changes with the show and hopefully be able to fit Kyle in a little bit better. But again, it's been great to be here with you guys. Star Wars 99 says Trey Turner needs to be better this year. He does in all aspects. And no more standing ovations. We're not playing that softer, kinder crap anymore. All right? Do your $33 million a year contract job. All right? And then deal with it. But I agree, he does. But as I said, we're going to send you out here with all the Phillies home runs in this postseason. Until we talk again next week, that's the news, and I'm out of here.
That ball is drilled, and forget it. A back drop by Real Muto. 3-0 Philadelphia. A no doubt about it shot. Double and a homer tonight for JT.
And the Philly fans get to celebrate their first home run of the postseason. And
At the corners, and Stott drives one to right. That's deep. That is gone. A grand slam for Stott. The brink just broke thanks to Bryson Stott's base-clearing granny.
Take him. And Harper rings one right field. That is up and gone. Bryce Harper with a home run. Right on cue, on base for the third time. His second hit. Harper fired up on his way around the bags. And the Phillies lead it 2-0.
Well, Bryce Harper, a great fastball hitter, but
and that ball's hit hard into right center. Real Muto will watch it fly. JT Realmuto, a 2-run blast. 3-0 Phillies. Realmuto's second home run of this postseason. Will lead things for the Phillies, and Castellanos way back into left field, and we are tied just like that. Stays put, and there's a high fly ball, deep right field. Harper watches it fly. Harper, high fly ball, center field. He's watching. Harris turns. Harris leaps, and it's gone. Harper with a rainmaker. And another stare down. 7-1 Phillies. And it's turning into the Bryce Harper game. Again. Balls and a strike, and Turner in the air, deep into left field, towering fly ball, Pilar at the wall, it's gone! A wall scraper to left. Trey Turner makes it 8-2 Phillies. His first home run of this postseason.
To hit bombs.
In the air, deep left center field. Castellanos has another one for Charlie. His son loving it. Multi-homer games for Harper and Castellanos. The 5th of the night for the Phillies. And it's 9-2.
Now, speaking of bombs, 112 off the bat.
Do it as well. Do it as well. That ball's hit well to left field. Marsh is watching this one fly. Another one is out of here. Brandon Marsh with his 3rd hit of the game. The 6th home run for the Fightin' Phils. And it's 10-2.
They've answered right back.
Castellanos deep into left field. It is a fair ball home run. Including Trey Turner's double. He's got one again. Trey Turner turns a slider around and puts the Phillies in front. Castellanos, high fly ball, way back, goodbye. Schwarber ready to lead off. First ball swinging, and there it goes. An ambush by Schwarber, and it's 1-0 Phillies. Schwarber in the regular season. Now Harper deep into right center, and he'll watch this one fly. Second home run of the inning. Drives out into right, got some heat on it, and this is going to be up and out of here. Castellanos, he's on a home run binge. 3-0 Phillies. Castellanos with his 5th home run in the last 3 games. Turner hits a drive, deep left center field, and the Phillies strike first again. Trey Turner, a solo shot. And he sends Allen to right, hit deep. Carroll turns, and it's gone! A line drive home run. Kyle Schwarber is second in as many games. 2-0 Phillies. Schwarber, a high drive into right center. He's watching. It's flying. Goodbye. Schwarber strikes again. Nothing. 3-2 pitch. Schwarber, a drive into right field. Way back there. So long. Kyle Schwarber. His 4th home run of this NLCS. And it took no time getting out of here. High drive, way back, right field. Schwarber does it again. An absolute bomb out of here. Kyle Schwarber, his 5th home run of this championship series. Makes it 3-0 Phillies. Harper, another drive. How far will it fly? Schwarber and Harper do it again. 4-0 Phillies. Real Muto, high fly ball deep into left field. This is way back there and gone! JT Real Muto, a 2-run blast. Six to 1 Phillies as the all-star catcher delivers a big blow here in Game 5. Brandon Font, and the first ball is deep into left. See you later. Alec Bohm, a solo shot to tie it.